Hey, it's Mike here, and recently I officially realized that I have been vegan for at least 10 years, so this is my veganniversary, so I figured I might as well reflect on my life. And no, I'm kidding, I'm actually just going to be making 10 points that I would have liked to have somebody tell me when I first went vegan. So this is a what would you tell your past self kind of situation, and I will say, I've been vegan for at least 10 years because I had like a maybe 3 or 4 month, I feel like I still need a little bit of fish or I'm going to shrivel up my muscles situation. But now I know like I'm definitely past that. And so it feels good to still be alive. I weigh more than I ever have. And some of it is muscle. Anyway, I'm not going to try to say all the same crap I usually say. I'm going to try to add several at least good points that are new. However, a good point is still a good point that I would want to hear. So those are going to be in there too. Socially, going vegan can be the hardest part for many. And so let's start with the social point. And number one, and that is that I have found out that people who are giving you a hard time when they hear that you are vegan really don't actually care as much as you think they do. A lot of people are just trying to make conversation. A lot of people are almost doing like a free association thing where you see, spaghetti and you think sauce. So they hear vegan and they think is gonna always tell you they're vegan. Like it's almost a mindless reaction at that point. Most people are not that emotionally invested. And if they are being douchey and are emotionally invested, then they probably are just douchey to people whether they are vegan or not, or they have any subtle difference between them. And you probably just don't want to be around those people anyway. But the point is, a lot of responses to you being vegan that people give are a little bit offensive, but people aren't trying to be offensive. They are just not that aware of what they're saying. Anyway, moving on to the next one. Number two, vegans tend to think that they need to be perfect in order to represent veganism super well. However, ain't nobody got time for that, the emotional energy for that. And on top of that, even if you are freaking perfect, an amazing vegan, and you climb Mount Everest, they're still gonna point to like the one vegan that didn't make it to the top and died on Mount Everest. As if a high proportion of people who try to climb that mountain don't die, like they'll just find a way. But then the vegan climbs to the top and it's crickets. They don't want vegans to look good if they don't want vegans to look good. It doesn't even matter what you're like. Anyway, save that emotional energy. If you want to be projecting a very solid, healthy, accomplished person, then do that for yourself. All right, moving on to number three. Isn't it just nice when there's a list and I can say numbers? Anyway, number three is don't otherize non-vegans too hard. I always say, and this is one that I've said before, view those people that you're talking to that are not vegan in the same way that you viewed yourself before you weren't vegan. Yeah, I know a lot of people hate themselves, but generally you don't hate yourself before you were vegan more than you currently hate yourself. So why would you hate them more than you hate yourself then? Now that you're confused, I guess my personal lesson is that I got to a point where I was just like, oh, vegans, yeah, great, vegans. And then like most of my friends were becoming like all vegans or were just vegans already. And I felt like that creates a little bit of a silo where, I mean, it's okay to be around people who are like you, but if you're keeping yourself away from most people on Earth, which is people that eat meat, then from an activism perspective, you're not going to be having any influence on them. And then just from a social mental health perspective, that can be a little isolating as well. And we've had enough isolation. I'm done with that. But this can also sort of erode long-term relationships with people that are still eating meat. And don't get me wrong, though. Some relationships are with bad people. They need to be eroded. Some things need to be eroded. Like Mount Rushmore. Those guys are way too serious. All right, number four, diet cannot fix everything. Say it with me. Diet don't fix everything. You didn't get that? You didn't say it with me exactly as I said it? There's a tendency of people that go vegan and they fix a lot of things. Don't get me wrong, being vegan can fix a lot of things, a lot of health issues, give people energy, help them with recovery and all that stuff. But there's just things that it can't do, or for example, if you're having 50% lower risk of a disease, that doesn't mean that you can't get that disease at all. I've said this before, you're not invincible. But the other point I want to add is that other things can help beyond diet. You can't just say, oh, I've done the diet right, I might as well not exercise at all. We're human beings, we're mammals, we're meant to move. You have to keep doing stuff like that So I just tell that to myself in the past, because there are times where I've been like, oh, I'm just doing a diet, I'm going to be lazy or whatever. Like, I could have been doing more cardio, and being just satisfied with diet is not good. All right, number 5, don't put too much stock in the vegan gurus out there, or even any one person. I feel like that's sort of nipped a lot of people in the butt in the past. Me, a little bit. I mean, I'm telling this to myself in the past just because you can kind of think that one person is right about everything. Nobody is right about everything. I am not right about everything. So you might as well take in information from a lot of sources, especially credible sources, doctors, people who are professionals. You know, not just a cycling dude who says the C word a lot, or not just a humble MPH student. All right, that brings me to a close one, which is number 6, which is just don't get too crazy about your vegan diet. And this can manifest in a few ways. We've seen it happen with some like fruitarian extreme diets and so forth, where people are like, fat, the body requires no fat. Let's just, in fact, we can just drink pee at this point. But personally, there's been times where I've maybe been a little bit over restrictive. Thankfully, I haven't really pushed it over the edge and done that as much as some other vegans have. I've made sure to get all the nutrients I need. But still, like, you can focus too much on not getting something that you think is not good. And don't get me wrong, I still identify things like sugar and oil as not being health foods, but I think that being too crazy about eliminating things can be an issue as well. As I've said since my Oil the Vegan Killer video, you got to figure out where you want to be on that spectrum based off if you're trying to reverse full-on disease, or you're just like a young person who probably won't die if they occasionally have some restaurant food, you know? All right, number 7, another social one. I think it's really important to learn how to talk about vegan stuff and veganism without getting too heated and it becoming too much of a point of contention for you. There's definitely times where I've gotten a little too heated talking about vegan stuff, or just like really offended or angry, or like, how can you still believe that we require animal protein? Or like, I'm showing you this picture of this IFBB pro bodybuilder who's twice as ripped as you, and yet you still are like, oh, I still need to work on this one. But the point is, there are people that you're going to talk to that are going to be so set in their views that you might as well be talking to a brick wall, but you're not going to get mad at a brick wall, which is roughly equivalent to the person you're talking to. So you might as well just zoom out and relaxed a little bit. Number 8 is a bit of a social change one, directed at myself when I was first vegan, and that is, don't think that your vegan diet is all that you would need to do to help out the planet. And it's easy to go like, oh, I'm helping out, you know, species extinction and the climate and blurry blur, but like, even if animal agriculture is the leading cause, there's still a ton of other causes of greenhouse gas emissions and on, but it's easy to just go, I'm doing enough, I'm just gonna relax. But then we still have things like fast fashion and all these damaging things that we could pretty easily stop doing. But with that comes a flip side point of, don't get too crazy about that stuff, because there have been times where I've gotten too crazy about too many different things and making a change, and then what happens is you are putting in so much effort, but then you're not seeing a wide-scale change because it's just you changing. It's not the entire planet changing. And then you can get disillusioned with it and then get really burnt out and then become like apathetic and nihilistic, and you don't want to do that either, so balance. But if you are the type of person who does great when they have, you know, like 3 years of trash in the little mason jar and like haven't ridden in a fossil fuel vehicle for 2 years, like, I'm not coming at you. Keep doing your thing. Number 9 is a very deep point. It's probably the most important one of all. Get an Instant Pot sooner. Put off getting an Instant Pot for years, and then it like changed my life immediately overnight. And I'm thinking about making an Instant Pot cookbook, so let me know if that is something that you would be interested in. I don't think I need to ramble about that too much. I think it's just logistical. It helps out a lot. It would have saved me a lot of time earlier. Anyway, moving on to number 10, which is, don't be afraid to take a few supplements. I definitely started out being like, oh, I'm going to take the fewest amount of supplements possible. And I didn't really like taking pills, which is why a great discovery was the little liquid B12 dropper things or sprayers that just changed the game, especially because the one I have tastes really good and it's like, now I'm addicted to it. But the main point here is there's this kind of like, I need to prove how great veganism is and I don't need all these things. But the reality is, everybody, regardless of their diet, would probably benefit from taking one supplement or another. So it's not that crazy to be taking a couple supplements, and you should just be chill about it. Like, there were probably times where I was like, I can get all the vitamin D from the sun in a country where like 70% of the people have suboptimal vitamin D and people are told to take vitamin D. I was like, no, I don't need it. Yeah, so get that B12 and vitamin D at the very least. That goes without saying. Anyway, those are my 10 points. I feel like I could actually have gone to 20 and beyond, but I think that's probably good enough. I know people are intimidated by a longer video. More importantly though, I want to know if there are points that you would tell yourself when you were first vegan that I did not mention here that could help people out below. I think that would be super interesting, and I will read them and I will learn. But that's actually it. Feel free to like and subscribe and do all those good things that help out this channel. Comment for the algorithm too. Whatever you want to do, whatever small piece of generosity you have in your heart today. All right, thanks for watching. See you next time.